You're listening to the Minutes on Growth podcast, the show that brings you mindfully curated insights into relationships, spirituality, personal development, and everything in between, with your host, Tannaz Hosseinpour. Hi, soul friends. It's Tannaz Hosseinpour, and welcome to another short solo episode of Minutes on Growth. Today, I want to briefly talk about processing judgment that we receive from other people, whether directly through communicating with them or indirectly through gossip. When judgment arises from other people, the soul and the ego tend to want to react differently. So how do they react? The ego tends to get defensive and wants to immediately speak up. In these moments, the ego wants to seek revenge, to cause harm back. And the inner critic will fill your mind up with, but how dare she or how dare he? And that's why it's really important in these moments to, first of all, pause and then to recognize that hurt people hurt people. And guess what? We are not here on this planet to police people on how they should behave. That's their movie. Whatever they sow, they will reap. And whatever we sow, we will reap. So our reaction will have impact on our life. On a side note, from a spiritual perspective, when people gossip about us, what they're doing is removing our negative energy. So from that perspective, what a blessing that someone through their actions is removing our darkness. However, coming back to the topic in the moment of trigger, the soul knows that it cannot control other people's actions towards us. However people act is a reflection of their inner state. Those who shame others tend to carry a lot of shame. Those who judge others tend to be extremely self-judgmental. And those who spread false narratives do so from a place of lack. So you see, the soul understands these concepts and through that recognizes that, hey, it's not personal. So the only thing the soul can do is distance itself from those who choose to cause harm and instead shift the focus on its own movie, on its own loving truth. You see, we have full control over who we allow into our circle. And we need to consciously practice that control by being intentional with who gets access to our energy field. This is the gift we give to ourselves. I know it's much easier to practice these spiritual concepts when everything is going well. But it's in these moments that we're triggered or we feel attacked and hurt that we must do whatever it takes to go against our ego's nature of reacting and instead pause. To allow ourselves some space to take deep breaths and to restrict our ego from engaging in other people's harmful movie loops. The pause allows the soul to come forward and take the lead. This is how we invite light into our life. By not engaging in other people's darkness and by not taking their darkness towards us as personal. Happy people don't go around sprinkling pain and misery onto others. Understanding that allows us to let go of the situation without resentment and without judgment. This part is really important because the ego can show up with another mask and say, I'm letting go because I'm better. That's another form of judgment, by the way. So what we want to do is let go from a place of deep understanding. It definitely doesn't excuse their behavior and it doesn't make it okay. But what it does do is it places ourselves first. It's us prioritizing our own mental health. This is self-love. So here are some practical ways that you can activate your parasympathetic nervous system when you're triggered so you can navigate away from the fight or flight response to rest or digest. You can walk in nature. You can take slow, deep breaths. It's called balanced breathing. So you inhale for 4 seconds and then you exhale slowly through the nose again for 4 seconds. You repeat this for 10 times at least. Drinking a glass of cold water or splashing cold water onto your face or putting an ice cube on your neck or wrist. Speaking to friends who don't add fuel to the fire and who can hold space for you to breathe through it. by writing out all your emotions on paper and then burning it. By the way, let it all out. Do not hold back when you're transferring your emotions from your body onto the piece of paper. Lastly, scream it out into a pillow or in your car. Cry it out. It's important for us to process these emotions so they don't get stuck in our system. But processing an emotion and getting stuck or attached to the narrative is a completely different concept. Again, this doesn't mean that we don't set boundaries or choose to distance ourselves, but rather in the moment of trigger, not allowing the ego to engage in a narrative that causes more harm to ourselves. Practicing the spiritual concept of pause or of letting go does not make you naive or weak. It takes tremendous courage and bravery to be heart-centered in a world that feeds off of pain and fear. You are not what other people think of you. You are an extension of light. You are made of love. Sending you lots and lots of love. Speak soon. Thank you for joining us this week on Minutes on Growth. If you enjoyed today's episode, then make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now.